it's me, Luna, and welcome back to Creepypasta Radio. So, this is a mm, for a friend's birthday. Happy birthday, David. I know you're listening, because I'm listening, and that makes me sound like a creep more than you do. So, this creepypasta is a creepypasta entitled The Truth Behind Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese, known as a place where a kid can be a kid, isn't as innocent as people make it out to be. Sure, it seems like just another arcade place for kids with a creepy robotic mascot band on stage, but unfortunately, I got to experience it. I got to experience the truth. The horrible truth behind Chuck E. Cheese. During the summer of 2006, I was about to be a senior in high school, and I needed some extra cash to buy a car, so I decided to look for a job. I searched the newspapers daily. Give me 1 second, I completely messed up on my thing. I searched the newspapers daily for any job openings anywhere, but I found more news stories about missing teenagers than I did listings. It was a strange time. My parents didn't want me going out anywhere, and most parents kept their kids indoors at all times. There were 6 missing teenagers that month. It was in the papers, on the news, it was everywhere. They all seemed to be either 16 or 17 years old. I came from a small town in Pennsylvania, but these disappearances brought a lot of attention to our town. However, these reports did not stop me from going out to look for a job. I lived about 10 minutes away, walking distance from a big strip mall that had a Chuck E. Cheese in it. And when I was applying to some stores in that strip mall, I noticed that the Chuck E. Cheese had a help wanted sign on the door. So, I went in to apply. I asked the employee standing by the entrance for a job application, and without responding, he called for a manager. A man, probably in his late 40s, walked to me and greeted me, immediately asking when I could start. He didn't even interview or talk with me. He basically offered me the job right away. This shocked me because I had never heard of a job that didn't require some kind of interview. I told him I could start work immediately. The man told me to come back the next day to be trained and to receive the employee uniform. I left the place so excited. I didn't even think about how weird it was. I had just gotten a job. Now I could save up for a car before school starts. It wasn't until I got back home that I started to realize how strange it was that I was spontaneously offered a job with no interviewing. They basically just hired a complete stranger. How did they know if I was qualified or able to do the job? I imagine that they were just really short-staffed and decided to just be happy that I got the job. That night, I did some research on what I would most likely be doing as my job. I found out that most new employees would either be cleaning up or dressing as the Chuck E. Cheese mascot. Great, I thought. I really didn't want to have to walk around in that thing. I went back the next day around 4. The manager greeted me and gave me a red shirt with the Chuck E. Cheese logo. He then proceeded to show me what it was I would be doing, which was cleaning tables, sweeping floors, and cleaning and maintaining the robotic mascots. I was relieved he didn't mention dressing in the Chucky costume. But I didn't understand what he meant by maintaining the robotic mascots. I asked him what he meant by that, and he explained that sometimes the animatronics get quirky, particularly Chucky. He explained that sometimes, even in their idle states, the animatronics may get overheated and need to be cooled down, where they might break or glitch. My job was to prevent that by spraying the fur of the robots with a bottle containing some kind of liquid, probably water. Somehow, that would cool down the animatronics or something. I didn't see how that made sense, but I didn't question it. It seemed easy enough. After showing me all this, the manager asked me if I was ready to start working today. I was shocked, but I was anxious to make money, so I told him yeah. It was only then that he finally introduced himself as John and asked me for my name. After I introduced myself, he seemed in a hurry to leave. Before I stopped him and asked him if he needed my personal information and worker's card, since I was only 17, he chuckled and responded, "Don't worry about that, bud. This job is off the books." I asked him what I should start doing and when my shift ended. He told me to clean up tables for now and leave when instructed. After this, he stormed out of the building without even saying goodbye or good luck. I stood there feeling awkward and extremely confused. What kind of job was this? Leave when instructed? How long were they going to keep me in here? And they didn't need any of my information? I got started cleaning tables and continued to do so for a while. It wasn't so bad, so far. About an hour into my shift, an employee told me to go backstage and clean up the robots before their show. John, the manager, had showed me the stage earlier, and cleaning these furry robots seemed easy. I filled the bucket with soapy water and brought some paper towels over to the robots. They all seemed perfectly clean, just like I expected. Why would they get dirty in the first place? But I figured I should just do it anyway. I started with the character all the way on the right, the human one dressed like a chef. I rubbed a damp paper towel around its face. Not that it changed much. It just looked as clean as afterwards. I repeated this process until I reached the Chucky robot, which was all the way on the left side. This one definitely seemed most realistic, even to the point where it was really creepy. How could little kids find this shit entertaining? I couldn't understand it. Apart from all the other robots, the Chucky one actually seems pretty dirty, particularly around its mouth. So, I scrubbed around the robot's mouth with a damp paper towel. It was weird, though. This robot was softer than the others. Just as I finished, the robot turned its head to me and opened its mouth. I jumped back and almost screamed out loud. I walked around to the other side of the robot to see if its head would follow me. It didn't. It seemed obvious to me that right away that the Chucky robot was left on for some reason. I didn't really think much of it after that. After another hour of sitting in that room, I had to resume cleaning up tables and floors while the robots did their show. Besides that, it was a pretty easy and boring night. Eventually, an employee came and told me to go home. I think it was almost 9 when I left. On my way home, I felt kind of happy. I had found such an easy job so quickly. I didn't mind it at all. Most of the shift I spent in that room watching those idle robots. At the end of the night, I fell asleep pretty quickly. But around 3 in the morning, I woke up to the sound of something coming from outside. It was incomprehensible at first, but pretty soon, I could make it out to be a very high-pitched, creepy laughter. We lived on a really quiet road, and hardly ever was there somebody walking past our house. I felt a bit unnerved, but I got up to look out my window. I lifted the blinds up and peeked out the window. The street light outside provided enough light to see the side of my property along with the street and the woods across the street. I scanned the street looking to find anybody out there, but nobody. Just as I was about to get back in my bed, I noticed something across the street by the edge of the woods. It was a silhouette of what seemed to be a big man. From where he was standing, the light didn't reveal any of his features, All I could see was the black figure facing my window. I pulled down the blind and jumped back into my bed. I almost wanted to tell my dad about it, but I didn't want to seem like a baby. What kind of fucking creep was standing out there like that? Whatever. They're out there, and I'm in here, I thought. I tried to fall asleep, but for a full hour, all I could think about was the figure I saw outside and wondering if it was still out there. I finally got the courage to lift up my blinds and check again. He was gone. Oh, what a relief. He pulled up the blinds back down, and after that, I fell asleep relatively quickly. The next day, I went back to work at around 4. It was weird. That day when I got there, I noticed that a lot of the other employees were giving me odd stares. Like I didn't belong or something. One employee came up to me and told me that I would be watching the animatronics all day. I really didn't have a problem with that. I just wondered why they would need someone to sit there for hours. All they were just robots. The first 2 hours of my shift went slow. None of the robots moved or overheated. I had already finished, quote-unquote, cleaning them, if I should even call it that. So I didn't have anything to do. I made a note to myself to bring some magazines or something to keep myself entertained the next day. There was no animatronic show that night. I guess they mainly did those for kids' birthday parties. I guess that's why they were all motionless that night. Anyway, sitting around these robots for hours with nothing to do gave me time to observe some things. Like how the curtains were covered by some kind of electronically moving wall. How 2 of the robots that were sitting down still managed to be the same height as some of the other robots that were standing up. I found them all to be creepy, but I found the Chucky robot to be the creepiest. I've never seen an animatronic that looked so real. It genuinely looked like some kind of giant mouse or rat, as stupid as that sounds. The way it was just facing the curtains with the creepy smile on its face, it made me a bit uneasy. Before I could examine it even more, one of my superiors came behind the stage and told me to take my lunch break. I asked her what the point of my job was and pointed out that I hadn't done anything. Her response was, "Your job is more than meets the eye." Oh, what? What are you? Before I could finish my sentence, she walked away. This beyond confused me, and I just thought the girl was a straight-up weirdo. Why would I have a reason to think otherwise? During my half-hour lunch, I had a 50% discount on all food from the place, which was nice. While I was eating, another employee, probably in his early 20s, walked up to me and, looking very spooked, said, "Get out of here while you still can." Before I could respond, he walked quickly to the exit of the building before disappearing for me to never see him again. Wow, there sure are a lot of creeps working here, I thought to myself. But what can you expect, though, when they hire anybody that walks through their doors? When my break was over, well, technically my whole job was a break, I never did anything. When my lunch break was over, I walked back to the backstage, but when I opened the door to enter, the Chucky robot was facing the door with a big smile on its face,